The artwork did me in. A young woman veiled in monochrome, weeping blood encircled by a crimson D. It's bold, striking, and mysterious. Those 3 words adequately describe this 2-hour experience that's spread across 2 discs. D is a survival horror puzzle game that was designed specifically for Panasonic's 3DO. You assume the role of Laura Harris, a young woman whose father, Dr. Richard Harris, suffers a severe psychotic break, then proceeds to murder several patients and staff members that reside in the very hospital he oversees. Devastated, Laura drops everything and races to the surrounded hospice. As Laura roams the halls, sifting through the detritus, she is soon confronted by a free-floating mercury-like entity. Suddenly, she is enveloped by it, which takes her to a gothic castle that would make Dracula himself green with envy. From here on out, you're exploring this castle, trying to solve curious and intimidating puzzles in an attempt to unravel this mystery. D was designed and developed by Kenji Eno at Warp, a company he founded for 3DO, and it sold quite well in Japan, but didn't make much of a dent here in America. Undoubtedly, that was due to the console's failure to gain ground in the console race. Regardless, Acclaim picked it up and decided to port it to the Sony PlayStation, and, obviously, SEGA Saturn. At the time, critical reception was positive. Unfortunately, due to the game's extensive use of full-motion video and assorted quirks, many gamers have judged it quite harshly since. Game Informer even went so far as to include it on their list of worst horror games ever, along with titles such as Night Trap and Resident Evil Survivor. That's cold. D uses pre-rendered video. It plays very much like a traditional game though. When you're moving through the environment, the perspective is typically locked in this first-person view. There are sequences sprinkled throughout where it plays out like a little movie, usually once you've solved a puzzle or enter a new environment. You receive warnings from Dr. Harris warning Laura to leave this place. Now, what's all that about, you wonder?
Laura.
Well, this is where it really gets interesting. Believe it or not, you can't pause the game. Even when you pull up your inventory screen, the clock is ticking. You can't save either. How about a password system? Nope, you have 2 hours. That's right, you only have 2 hours to make your way through this castle of illusion before the portal Laura walked through closes completely. If that happens, the game's over. No extra lives and no continues. You have to play through it all over again. Apparently, this fact has upset many a player over the years. Granted, it can be frustrating. However, it creates a feeling of urgency and impending doom few titles of the genre rarely achieve. Honestly, I feel Kenji Eno was trying to blur the line between cinema and video game, a feat many titles had attempted previously, namely Night Trap and Wirehead. In my opinion, however, D actually succeeded. Unlike Night Trap or Wirehead, where gameplay is focused mainly on QuickTime events, D plays out like a point-and-click adventure. You can freely interact with the environment, searching rooms, rifling through cabinets and dresser drawers, picking up various items that will aid you in Laura's quest for truth and understanding. The only characteristic that separates D from many other point-and-clicks is the interface. The player actually has to press up, down, left, and right in order to move around. There's no cursor and no frantic clicking, trying to figure out where to go next. Whenever you move, the game seamlessly cuts to a pre-rendered video of Laura walking, very slowly. Because there's a time limit, minus the security of a checkpoint, you really want Laura to move her ass. Little Miss Leadfoot takes her time traversing from point A to point B, inspiring me to shout obscenities like, "Faster, you bitch, and are we there yet, whore?" I freely admit this makes sense. If I were swallowed up by a puddle of liquid silver and transported to an ominous locale, I wouldn't be so anxious to race through these halls either. Whether you love it or hate it, best get used to it if you wish to save Laura from a fate worse than death. The puzzles are clever and can lead you astray. If you should find yourself stuck, Laura has a blue compact that will give you a hint as to how to proceed, but there's a catch. Every time you put it to use, the mirror cracks. Use it 3 times and it shatters. Needless to say, that sucks. Irritations aside, the gameplay is both challenging and rewarding. One downside is that once you've beaten the game and should decide to replay it, the experience is short-lived. There is some replay value though, like alternate endings. Don't worry, I won't spoil them for you here. D is visually beautiful, though very dark. I feel as if I'm watching a David Fincher movie as shot by Peter Hyams. They're both fans of dark cinematography. For those of you who aren't complete nerds, still, what you do see is most certainly alluring. The castle is oozing with atmosphere. There's definitely enough unsettling moments to hold my interest. The graphics are primitive, sure, but they're sophisticated enough for our leading lady to convey feelings of fear and anguish. Video isn't exactly reference quality thanks to some minor dithering, though it's serviceable. The audio is great. D was scored by Kenji Eno himself, which is remarkable. I can't think of very many designers that write and compose music for their own titles. The score is more ambient than anything, which is good, I think. With horror, I've always felt that less is more. D proves that. As far as I'm concerned, this is a damn good game. It's a mystery that's full of classic horror imagery that sucks you into its realm of surrealism and darkness. I strongly suggest that you look at D as a truly interactive movie. Put 2 hours aside, turn out the lights, and enjoy the fear.